Hey everyone, welcome to this week's training. We just wrapped it up. It's absolutely loaded. We've had a bunch of new students join us this week and we've got version 4. So version 4 of TrendForce is in the hands of all of our students. And in this session, my dad's going to break down all of the signals, how they all work in terms of the bright versus the dark, the most powerful ones, the best looking setups, how to set those alerts, and also our very powerful new special lines on our charts, which I'm going to let you see on the inside. So guys, enjoy the session, buckle up, and we'll see you on the inside. Alrighty everyone, welcome. So good to all have you with us. Have you all with us? Let me just check. I'm admitting people for some reason I did not get my Zoom settings right tonight. It's been a big weekend. Speaking of the weekend, so good to see so many of you in person at our event on Sunday. Massive thank you to all of you that drove in from all over the show, flew in from the South Island, Wayne and Dylan. So cool. It was so amazing to meet some of you face to face for the first time and see all your wonderful faces. So guys, we've obviously had some new students jumping with us in the last few days, and so we are going to tonight go through very quickly the simple steps of where you're starting, what you're working through, where you're headed, and then from there, Dad's going to jump in, show a few more elements of V4, and then we'll definitely have some time for Q&A at the end. So I've just got a monitor to the side here because it's making me admit everyone one at a time instead of just gave me a waiting room tonight for some reason. So I'm monitoring that on my one side of my screen, but otherwise, good to see you all. I can see a stack of you guys are on here. I can already see people are winning with V3. This is so much fun, guys. V4. Like I said, really big weekend. I think I had 5 or 6 back-to-back nights of 1 a.m. finishes and lead up to all of it. So we made it. You guys have got it. Everyone should have access to it. We're definitely going to show you as well exactly how to find that in case, for whatever reason, you cannot. So let me start with this, guys. Very first step is this. The student roadmap that we have, you saw it on the night, and this is what it looks like. So when you are brand new, some of you may have already blasted through stage 1, the foundations. That is part of the free course that people can access when they sign up on the site initially, but it is still inside of our roadmap. So even if you haven't gone through that yet, make that the first thing that you work through. 4 videos, 90 minutes. There is a PDF for that as well, which you will get when you sign up. It's part of that first email. Then stage 2 is the tools and the setup. And I cannot stress enough how important those 2 videos are. Even if you feel like you've been on TradingView for years, not everyone knows all the tools. And how to flick between normal candles, Heikin-Ashi candles, how to find all the little bits and pieces. So make sure you watch that one, because aside from the top 10 tools, near the end of the video, I just go through a whole lot of cool little key settings to get familiar with inside of TradingView. Then obviously the paper trading video is there. Then stage 3, mastering the system. That is our system PDF and the 2 videos, the fresh ones that we dropped last night, the indicator video and obviously the rules video. Then after that, you really are starting to practically get into it. You're starting to demo trade, starting to catch up on Tuesday night trainings like tonight and the recordings that we have, and jumping on our stage 6, our market analysis Zooms on Friday mornings. And the freedom stage is you trading on your own, feeling confident to push the button without being, having someone there with you. So one more thing I'm going to share. You would have all been emailed when you start off. And if you're not familiar with this is still my personal YouTube channel. I have got a TrendForce one that I'm busy building out, but we've been here a while. There's actually more like 300 videos on here. I'm just checking it's sharing okay. There we go. I think you guys can see that. So if you land on the channel, firstly, you're going to see the recent ones, but if you click videos, you're then going to see all of everything that we've got, right? And so there's a lot there, and we have filtered that all down quite simply to a playlist that it's pinned in our group chat, and everyone gets emailed this on day 1. That is like a number 1 welcome call that we did when we had a couple dozen students join us a few months back. So a bit more dad story in there, a bit of an overview of things. The 4 videos are there as well that you get with the free course. Then there's the 2 that we just talked about, TradingView and top 10 tools. And then come the indicators video, the rules video, and then into our Tuesday night trainings beyond that we thought were worthy of sticking into the list. So that's where you can find that. And so every night after these Zooms, I jump on editing, upload, and I upload those videos to here and I put it in the chat. So the quickest way to find out when these drop is just to go and do the subscribe thing, the notification thing, and the whole YouTube thing, and then you get the recordings fresh as soon as they drop. So that's where you can find everything, guys. Aside from that, make sure you've got that system PDF. I know I showed a bit of it the other night, but if you have not gone through it, please, please, please go through it, because there's a few notes in there that I typed up. I've got it behind me here and I'm trying to share it as well. You should all have it. It's pinned into the group chat as well. Looks like that. And you're going to scroll through, you're going to see the contents page. Inside of this, it tracks perfectly with that video, so you can find each and every stage along the way. And every page has got a timestamp, so that equals where this part is in the video. And so inside that video, there are some things that could require an entire training for themselves. So tonight we're going to have a little bit of that, but otherwise, just having a look and seeing all the names, and I can't really see the faces, but there we go. Admit another one. Let's let Mike in. Guys, really, thank you for being with us on Sunday night. I know internationally that was kind of impossible, but that recording is going to come out hopefully sometime next week. I've got someone helping me out with that this time. But just because you weren't in the room, it doesn't mean you missed out on anything in terms of version 4, because those videos that dropped last night give you every single detail. And tonight we're going to help spell out a few more. So that's more than enough from me. I am going to add Dad to the front of the screen here, pin you, and let you go wild, Dad, because I know you got plenty to share. And we are all ripping to hear more about version 4. So there you are. Thank you. Looking nice. Sharp in your new jersey and branded. But seriously, thank you for all of your absolute insane amount of work that has gone into coding this bad boy. We all appreciate it. It's so fun to see everyone now with it in their hand. And so enough from me. Over to you. Let's rock and roll.
It's been such fun. And again, just on behalf of Tana, thanks for those who could make it to our live event. It was awesome, especially meeting some of you for the first time. Sometimes we just see you in the small little block on our screen in our live Zoom training sessions or our live market analysis. But it was so good to see you all there. It was just such a great atmosphere. And I know many of you drove a long way, and I can see Wayne there some guys flew a long way from the South Island. So really, really appreciated that. And those who drove for many miles. So you probably got a quick overview. Hopefully you have had a look at the video already, the hour video, and there's a 10-minute on the rules and got familiar. So I'm just going to highlight a few things because there have been a few questions and things I wanted to go over too. So I'm going to jump straight into sharing my screen, Ty. Here we go. So I just want to put the questions, but when I share my screen, I'm going to move things around a little bit. And Ty, can you let me just see where the chat is here. Okay, I can see the chat too. Ty will keep an eye on the questions. So I thought, just for starters, just looking at this morning, where are we? So we are on the US 30 this morning. So this is this morning. I just thought there was such a good morning, although the zone alignment was orange, which means trade with caution. So I'm not a keen trader, but I just looked at almost every signal over about 4 hours got pips. So there was a counter trend here. They all hit their target, at least TP1. There was a counter trend at 322, that dropped 74 pips. There was this nice buy signal at 411, that went up 173 pips. This one I was watching, this was the TP1, but there was 40 pips in that one. This counter trend signal did hit, it was a small TP, it was about 12 pips, but it still hit the target there. This buy signal there was another 40 pips in that buy signal, at least. It went up higher than 40, but it was another 40 pips there. This counter trend signal that hit the TP was down at this level, 38 pips, but it dropped to 85 pips. And there was this also hit the target and went well below. There was 100 pips. So between, 3 o'clock over 4 hours, every single signal on the Dow, on the M1, had pips, which is awesome. So I just thought I'd give some feedback. First day, some of you on version 4, the Dow was firing on all cylinders. There were hundreds of pips there. So I'm going to firstly look at the signals. So people have asked how the signals generated. So I'm just there's a good example on Bitcoin. Let me just look at Bitcoin on the 3-minute. We'll look at 2 examples there, because you heard from the training and you would have also seen in the videos, maybe learned already. Let's just get to where price is currently now, is that you have 2 kinds of signals. They're either bright or they're dark. So there's a bright one. We're going to look at that. And then lower down, there's a dark one. So what is the difference? I think you've got the hint by now. The way I like my colors, that bright is always better. So bright is a stronger signal. So for any signal to generate, there needs to be a crossover. This trend zone here the primary one needs to crossover, our 21 and our 13. And plus our MACD on that time frame also needs to cross over. That what will normally generate a signal, provided we're on the right side of the 233. But when it's bright, what bright means is that not only is the current time frame aligned, but 3 times higher. So if we look right now at the sell signal, can we see, look at this beautiful bearish band, 3 times higher is already bearish. And plus, if we look down at the MACD, we can see this red band that matches, the two colors match, that's also bearish. So that produces that strong signal there. Then what has also made the signal stronger, so there are less signals with version 4 than version 3. I think on the 1 minute, there's probably 20 to 25% less signals. So we filtered out more false signals. And you will see now with all the signals, price has to be below, obviously, the main trend zone, the time frame we're on. This is the 3 minute I'm on at the moment. It also has to be below 3 times higher and also below 8 times higher. So you can imagine that makes it a high probability trade. And the reason why it makes it also a high probability trade, because sometimes price does pull back. So if you can imagine, if this pulled back, there's a massive amount of support, in this case, resistance. So if price did pull back, it would have to break through the 3 and the 8 to reverse. So the signals now are way stronger. So that produces the buy signal. Again, we've crossed over on the 3 minute, on the current time frame we're trading. We can see we've crossed over there. We've also crossed over in the MACD down here. Then also 3 time frames higher. We're already trending nicely. Look, there was a bearish crossover way back over here. That bearish crossover, and then price began to get momentum. We like separation. And plus, we can see the crossover on the MACD was way back. That's why we like the MACD. Very consistent. Although price still went up over there, we can see bearish, wonderful bearish crossover, separation. And so that produced, that's the strong signal, the sell signal. And this is Bitcoin. So if we looked at how many pips that generated, hit TP3, but it went way down to 160 pips. Then the other example is a sell signal that is not bright. So here we have a dark sell signal. And so we can see the signal was generated because we've got a crossover on the current time frame. We can see our trend zone, main trend zone is crossed over, plus the MACD. We've got a wonderful crossover on the MACD too. And so that produced that signal. But we can see the reason why it's not bright is that we can see 3 times higher is actually bullish. We can see it's been going sideways. This is kind of a rangy patch of this trade, and that's reflected a lot in the 3 minute going sideways. So on the signal, 3 times higher was not bearish, it was bullish. That's why the signal was red. But there's a good reason why I chose this. There's a saying in trading, we didn't invent it, and that is higher time frames bully lower time frames. We can see that, I mean, this signal, it's hit TP3. Let's see, from the signal at minimum, well, we're on TP2, sorry, that's already, 100 pips up to there. So you're going to see this a lot now with version 4. Previously with version 3, we like to look at 3 charts. I had a 3 minute chart here and an 8 minute chart. So it was often difficult to look at, 3 main indicators plus 3 MACDs. But of course, now with version 4, we've overlaid the MACD trend zone on the 8 and the 3. So if we look at the signal, although it was dark, meaning not as strong, we can see that, look at the 8s. The 8 crossed over way back there. The 8 times higher crossed over at 1:45 in the afternoon. This signal was at, 25 to 7, not so long ago. So what made this a safe signal? Because before, our rules are current time frame and 3 times higher validates the entry rule. But now, although it didn't completely fulfill the rules, this higher time frame, 8 minute, clearly very bearish, made this entry a safe entry. And let's see if it's dropping down. TP didn't quite reach TP3. Who knows? It could then, pivot off we got our POC here and go down. But another key thing I want to explain, which we tried to explain a little bit as we went along, is that the main indicator, often what we like to say bully, is the MACD. I don't like to wrestle a lot against the MACD, but now that we can see clearly 8 time frames higher, making it safer, we can see, look at this really strong, look at this. This is a very strong bearish downtrend. So this is a 3 minute chart. So that is almost a half an hour trend. Half an hour, beautiful parallel lines extending down Plus, this would be almost like the 8-minute, 9-minute to be exact. Also, very bearish. So when you get a signal like this, I think Vickers asked me, what does a good setup look like? This is part of a good setup. When you get a signal and you can see you're in a good downtrend, and here a good downtrend, 8 time frames higher, that also makes it a very strong signal. So look for this kind of setup. And especially if the MACD is also trending. In this case, it wasn't quite trending on the signal because we had this little pullback, 3 times higher. But this is what we like in the main indicator. This is, if you can memorize these patterns. I remember my wife and I, there was a free course. Tony Robbins offered a free course just over a year ago, just a motivational course. We thought we'd just do something different. We're on a holiday. And he said something I've never forgotten. He said, if you can see any pattern in the marketplace, you'll become wealthy. And so I believe in declarations. I make declarations every day. And so one of them is, I see patterns that make me prosper. And that's the key you can apply to trading. If you can see a pattern, you will prosper. So again, this was the bright sell signal because we were 3 times higher, trending nicely. And this one was dark because 3 time frames higher in the MACD had not trended. So let's look at a couple of buy signals. Let's just go back to the US 30 and look at a couple of buy signals. And we can also look at the difference between, again, bright and dark. So buy signals, again, are generated in the same way as sell signals. Our main trend zone must have a crossover. So we can see we crossed over here to generate the buy signal. Plus, in the MACD, we also had a nice bullish crossover. So that would have generated the signal. Now, again, we can see this is not a bright signal. It's dark. And again, the reason is because in our main trend zone, 3 times higher, our MACD trend zone, can you see we're still bearish at that point. We are red, which means we hadn't crossed over yet. We did just after that, of course, but at that point we hadn't. That generates a dark signal. Now, there are things you will learn. I did say, and I'll just pop it in here, there are plenty of examples, is that these trend zones, we've got our main one, 3 times higher, 8 times higher. We've also beginning to call them liquidity zones because every time price pulls back into either 3 times higher or 8 times higher, there's always a good move. Well, not every time, but most often. So look at this. Price came down into 8 time frames higher. So, the higher it pulls back, when it pulls back into 8 time frames higher, you often get a bigger move up. So yeah, look, there was a counter trend signal. It couldn't get below 8 times higher. And then we had this buy signal. And you can see, this was what time? This was in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That did TP3, 120 pips. But here, although this was a smaller buy signal, we can see again, price pulled back into liquidity. It came into the 8, and then from there up, there was still, almost 50 pips. So you'll see that pattern quite often. Every time, look at this, price pulls back. Now, in this case, it's pulling back into the 8. Often it's only the 3. It pulls back into the 8. Look here, pulls back into the 8, and boom, look at this big move up here. Oops, let me get my measurement tool. Pulls back, up we go, 100 pips. Pulls into liquidity. You can see, okay, there was a bit of a move. I'm not saying take these trades, but I'm just trying to show how much liquidity is in these trend zones. These were hard to see, another 100 pips there. So huge moves come when price pulls back. So anyway, I got distracted getting excited about liquidity. So there was an example of a dark buy signal. And let's look at an example of a bright buy signal. So here we go. Here's a bright buy signal. So the same laws apply, generated because we got a wonderful bullish crossover in our main trend zone. We can see our MACD, also a bullish crossover. But what produced the bright signal is that 3 time frames higher, we are also bullish. So here is our green band. Now, I know sometimes they can overlap. I worked hard on the shading so we can read all 3. So sometimes you'll see overlaps, but generally you can read the 3. So I spent a lot of time on that. But we can see here we have a bullish MACD trend zone 3 time frames higher. So these produce strong signals. So that one, boom, shot up. That was the big signal around 4 o'clock this morning. And so you must look at these patterns. When you see these wonderful patterns, so at this point, we can see the 8-minute is bullish. 8 time frames high is bullish. 3 time frames high is bullish. And the current one, obviously bullish to produce a signal. Though these are the patterns we want to see. Now, sometimes they won't always line up. Ideally, we'd like to see, the 8 time frames higher below, but it doesn't really matter because this is a strong bullish uptrend. So that is basically how the signals are produced, the buy and sell and the dark and bright. Now, we have the same also with our counter trend signals. So you'll see we also have bright and dark counter trend signals. I'm looking for a dark one. They're all bright. So we've also adjusted our algorithm on our counter trend signals. And that makes them more higher probability signals. So basically now for a counter trend signal to plot, price must have cleared 3 time frames higher. So you can see here price closed below the 3 time frames higher trend zone. It was still bullish. That's why a lot of counter trend signals will come when it hasn't crossed over. But again, this lessens the risk because if price does pull back after crossing below, if it does pivot back, then it's got, in this case, with the sell counter trend, it's got strong resistance and is likely to bounce off and continue down. So the bright sell signal, counter trend signals are generated by the current time frame. Obviously, price breaks below 3 time frames higher. But in the MACD, if you look down at the MACD, can you see here? The MACD was already bearish. So that produces a stronger signal. So generally, when you got these bright signals and our MACD is already bearish, that means there's a higher chance that counter trend signal is going to move. And some of them, look, this is massive. This one, I mean, there was a TP is 1.5 to 1. Now we only really set that. You don't need to always set that as the target. Still, there's 20 pips, but that's just to make sure you got clear space to at least TP the TP target on the counter trend. But this one dropped, 100 or 200 pips, that counter trend signal. So sometimes they really, really move. Let me just see if I can find a dark one to illustrate. Looking for a dark. Gee, all of them were bright. There are dark ones somewhere. I'm looking. Okay, there was a huge move. We won't look back, but if you can see, let's just go back. We'll find one somewhere. Looking for a dark counter trend signal, bright. A lot of them are bright. Here we go. Here's a dark one. Okay, so we can see now the MACD is a little bit crunched here, but I'll just blow it up at this point. So here's a dark counter trend signal. Again, remember that our counter trend signals only plot if we are above the 3 time frames higher. But look at this is a good example to teach on because look here, not only is this counter trend signal above 3 time frames higher, can you see 8 time frames higher? We closed above it. So that is a very strong counter trend signal too. The reason why it's not bright is because we can see at that point, we can see the MACD trend zone 3 time frame higher is red. So that has produced a dark counter trend signal. But again, this was massive. That thing shot up how many pips? What's that? 179 pips. Huge. So that is how the counter trend signals work. And then the other signal, the other slight change. Let's just get back to current where we are. Reset the chart. Here we are. Then the other signals that just the buy and seller momentum also have dark and bright. So we can see there's a dark buyer momentum. Here is a bright seller momentum. And that's created when it's stronger and it's broken range. So we can see that didn't really break any range. That's the dark. This one has broken that range and that's bright. So look for bright signals. There's a dark one, but still worked well. So I won't spend too much time on that. It's pretty obvious, but generally the brighter ones tend to move and give you more pips. So that's just a slight change with that signal. All right, then a few other things I want to talk about. I've covered the signals. Okay, this is really big. Let me just, okay, we're on the 3 minute. I want to talk about the 15-minute break. So the 15-minute break, so signal. So let me just see, where are we here? I want to just show you how many pips there are in this particular signal. And so what I'm going to do is just extend, because we have now extended beyond the open, we can only go back 250 pips. So you will see in the indicators, if you go down to inputs, I've just turned a few things off just to give clarity tonight. We can see a M15 New York opening candle levels for support and resistance. So this is massive, the amount of pips it produces. So it produces dotted lines. We can see this is the upper level, which is the kind of Shiraz color. The low level is blue. You can change the line width if you wish. And then I've got here, I said this last night too, it's got to be in multiples. It's got to be in multiples of 15, because it's the 15 minutes. So anything that can divide into 15, that chart will work, like a 1 minute chart, 3 minute chart, 5 minute, 15, 30 minute, 1 hour. Anything that that can divide into 15, or 15 can divide into, if you chose an 8 minute chart, it's not going to plot accurately. But this is huge, and it does produce a signal when it breaks either above the opening, resistance level, or below the support level. A signal is produced. Now, because I delete the signals to save space and processing power, you won't see the previous ones, but I'll just look at this morning. So if we go back to this morning and we look at the open, so we can see the low is over here. I've just extended the high because the low is not in play at the moment. But we can see that would have generated at the open at 2:30. Then the first signal, the one would have generated as we broke above that opening 15-minute candle level. One of those explosions would have plotted there. So already there was 117 pips. So, I mean, there was a buy signal, but also an explosion would have plotted. And you can see price the whole day comes down and tests it. Here it tested it again, it broke below. So this candle would have produced another explosion. This one here, as it broke above, it closed below. Hopefully you can see on the zoom our kind of Shiraz line. So from that signal, it produced another 226 pips up to that point. So I want to say take these signals seriously. Now over here, we can see we've just broken below. Price hasn't moved yet. But let's just look at the NAS, how that performed with that particular signal. So we'll go back to the open. I'll also just extend. Where are we? I'm on the right level here. Let me just see if I've got the right levels. Yep, I have. So if we look at this morning, from when price broke above, we can see from the open, it firstly would have generated on this candle here, closed above the 15-minute candle limit. So from that candle, it would have opened a bit lower, but conservatively, that produced 50 pips. Then price broke below, it broke above the 15-minute resistance level. It would have produced another signal there. That one rose up 100 pips. And let's look as the day progressed, how we're doing. So here, look, here we go. It broke. Now it broke below the support level. So this blue line would be the lower level of the M15, the 15-minute candle. It would have produced, as it broke through here, there would have been a few more pips. There's 56 pips there. And here you can see it broke below again. Can you see now this is the current one? Price, wherever it breaks above, closes below, that little signal there, and it's now produced another 82 pips. Now this works on everything. If we just look at gold, let's go through everything. JPY, this is the Nikkei. So if we go back to the opening, you can see the range here. So I'll just plot a line on that level so we can see. I'll just extend it, the pink line. So when did price break above? So it initially broke on this buy signal. We can see just after the open. So it produced there 90 pips over there. This is the Nikkei. So it broke below here. It would have produced another one actually on that doji, but let's be conservative. It produced another 230 pips there. And let's just see if it tested it again. It came down. Hasn't broken below yet. No. So often you can see, look here, this is, if you can get this for price action, it's amazing. Can you see here, price came down. This is now 6:45 in the evening. This was generated at 2:30 in the morning. And look, price didn't break below the low of the 15-minute opening candle. And so it's a massive all day support and resistance. This is huge. Now you can look at gold. I even looked at Brent oil, I looked at oil and I just looked how that behaved and it was the same. Even if you're trading oil, every time it broke above, so you can see here, it would have broken on this candle. So just on oil, it broke, there was 100 pips. It broke above here. It would have produced a signal, another 100 pips. Broke above here. produced another 100 pips. I mean, and here it's now broken below. We can see would have generated there, but look at the latest signal. Can you see? Here we got the explosion. It's broken below now. The blue dotted is the low. So the support level of the 15-minute candle. It produced that star there. I mean, literally today, there were probably thousands of pips on that one signal. I mean, it's the same with, you can look at anything, gold, Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin, we look at Bitcoin earlier? I think recently it's broken the 15-minute low. Where are we looking? Look here. So look at this. Wow, this is massive. I'll have to crunch my screen up. Can you see the signal here? This blue dotted line, hopefully you can see on the Zoom screen. That explosion means this is broken below the 15-minute support line. So from that signal, that's gone down, almost 300 pips from that signal. So this is massive for our strategy. It's new, but it's incredibly predictable. You can see throughout the day, if you extend these lines, I mean, look here. If we extended this line left, we can see price couldn't pivot it off there. Pivot it off. It's huge for support and resistance. So be looking at those lines the whole day and be looking for this explosion. That is massive. All right, a few other things. Let's see what I can look at next. That's the M15. So remember with the force table, someone did ask a question. When signals are generated, so if we just look at this last signal, let's go into replay mode, start new. Let's just go before this. What are we on here? We're on Bitcoin. So let's just wait for that to load. And so if we press play, you will see a signal will then generate in the force table. We're on the 3-minute. It will take a second just to activate. And sometimes if I set it too quickly, it doesn't. There we go. So you can see there we've got a sell signal that's telling us on the 3-minute, but of course all time frames. If you're on the 3-minute, it's going to show you the 1 minute, the 1 hour, etc. Now the way I've set the code for this only stays on for the time frame of the candle. So this candle, because it's on a 3-minute chart, will only show on our force table for 3 minutes. And once at 3 minutes it's up, it will disappear. Well, let's just let it play out. I'll just see if any other signals appeared in this run. It'll just take a while to load. Because what's nice, I haven't tested this, but let's just see if once it gets moving, if any other, see now that is disappeared off there because a new candle has now plotted. So remember, so if it's a 1 hour chart, it will stay on the chart for 1 hour. If it's 15 minutes, it's down for 15 minutes, and that's how it works. So again, it'll delete. It just keeps the table clear, and also it makes it easy. I'll just stop the playback now. It makes it way easier to also read the chart when a new signal plots. All right, so that is how the signals work, but it's very good. I showed the example on Saturday night. Once it opens, it just begins, the signals fire one after each other. So it's really, really good, and it keeps you in the trade. So if you take a 3-minute sell and suddenly the 5 minutes says sell, 8 minutes says sell, that's telling you the trade is picking up momentum and high time frame signals are being generated, indicating it's probably safe to stay in the trade. Now, another key thing I want to look at is at the alerts, because alerts are huge. They're a great tool, especially if you're working remotely and you're trading off your phone. And that's one of the reasons why we've worked hard at coming up with version 4, being able to trade off one chart, because obviously on a phone, you can't split your screen into 3 or 4. You basically look on one chart, and this makes it way safer to trade off one chart. And so the alerts now, there are a lot of options. So if you set alerts, you simply right click, and then it's give you an option, add alerts. In this case, I'm on Bitcoin. So you click add alert, and then under condition, you've got some options. So basically we want to choose our indicators. Let's do the easy one first, the TrendForce MACD. So TFM is what we've got down here, TrendForce MACD. There are only 2 options here. A lot of people like this one, histogram bright green start, histogram bright red start. So that's huge. I won't save that, which we'll just show you again for those who are new, is that this histogram is very strong for keeping in trend. So for example, over here, you can see we had a sell signal, And one bar before, histogram went bright red. And we can see all the way, look at that, it stayed red that whole time. And so especially on high time frames, for example, if you had entered on this signal, you could have stayed in the trade as long as, look at the histogram, is still bright red, bright red. If you'd waited for the first green bar and exited over there, you still would have had 136 pips. And so the point of this table is that as long as it's green, as long as it's, in the color of the trend, here's a sell signal, we can see we bright red, still no reason to leave the trade. You can stay in already up there, 86 pips, and you can often stay in until it goes bright green. Now, on shorter trades, it may not work. So that is why a lot of people love to set alerts for the histogram changing color. So let's look at an example of a buy. So here was a buy signal. And so if you had set, you could have taken that signal and set your alerts while you were in the trade, it would have gone beep over here. But if you had entered on the buy signal and you'd stayed in, the first red bar was way over here, there was still 72 pips if you used that as an exit signal. So the MACD histogram is huge. That's why we have alerts for bright green and bright red. These changing color are valid entry signals. Usually when it goes to bright, price always moves. So that is the alerts for the MACD. Then there are quite a few options now for our main indicators. So I'm just going to go through those. And so again, you right click, add alert. This time we're going to choose our main indicator, TFI. So TrendForce indicator version 4, that's TFI version 4. And so there are a lot of options now. So if I click the drop down window, you can see, boom, look at all these options. So we have buy signal and sell signal. So what is important to understand now, because we also have strong buy signal, strong sell signal. The strong ones is when it's bright. Now, there are two options. Important to get this one, if you just click buy signal or sell signal, no matter how bright or dark this, you will get every buy and every sell signal. So if we clicked sell signal now, you would have got a signal on the bright over there and on the dark over there. If you select strong buy signal or strong sell signal, then it's only going to give you the bright colors. So you can basically choose, if you're working remotely and you haven't got, you may not have a lot of time to trade, you just want to go for the stronger signals, then you can just choose those as your signal. So if we, for example, select sell signal, you can see now, and you click create. Let me just see if it's showing. Here we go. Can you see now? You can see a little alarm clock is now next to your indicator name there. So there's an alarm clock showing that you've set. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm not going to run with that now. I'll just delete that signal. And let's look at the other options. So if we right click again, add alerts, then we choose price. We go down to TrendForce indicator. Then the other options. So we got buy signal, sell signal, strong buy, strong sell. Then the same for our counter trend. So counter trend buy bright, counter trend buy dim, counter trend sell bright, counter trend sell dim. So if you choose the dim ones, then all counter trend signals will go off. If you choose bright, only the strong ones. Then of course the main one is that I really recommend is the M15 break level. And so this is this star, this explosion over here. So if you click on that, then every time you get a star, it's going to go off. But there are other options. So you click that, then you can choose only once. So if you click only once, then once it's gone off once, it's going to deactivate. Then you can choose once per bar close or once per minute. If you go once per bar closed, you're going to get every single one. So every time the bar closes, you'll get one. So you need to choose if you only want it once or do you want it operated continually, then it's going to fire like that. So those are, I'll just cancel that. I don't think I have set that up. So that's how the alerts work. They work very well and it's great, especially if you're not at your desk or at your computer or your phone, then you get a chance to go back and revisit. The other thing is just there's been a slight change of the POC. It plots in the same place as version 3, but I don't want to get too technical, but it was using a lot of processing power. So in PineScript, which is a coding language, there's an option where you can check what is drawing power from, computer power or processing power. And the POC was using a lot of power. So I worked on it, and I've lessened the power that it draws, the processing power, to keep the indicator fast. And as a result, it is a bit more sensitive. So occasionally it's going to move with price a little bit more than usual. So it may just move a little bit more. I mean, generally it's stable as before, but don't be surprised if it moves as price moves. It's very rare, but it still happens. All right. So are there any questions? Ty, any questions? Are we doing
There's
good?
a couple. I've answered a few, but I'll double check with you as well. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Cool. So first one from Jordash, do the lines only print, like this is the 15-minute support and resistance candle for the opening 15-minute candle.
Yep.
Do the lines only print after the candle closes, or are they static I'm extending the question, are they static during the print of that candle?
Oh no, they move. They move.
I thought so they show up instantly at the open, basically?
Yep, they'll start. Yep. So let's just go back to the open. And let's just go back and we can just put it on replay. So where the open was here.
That's a good idea. That's to see it live in action.
Okay, let's go live in action. Let's do the 1 minute, make it more fun. It'll just show a little bit more action. We just got it all the way back now I could use the clock, but let's just scroll back. Okay, we 8 o'clock. Let's see how it played out. I've never done this before, so good question. Let's see what happens. I'm excited to see. So here we go. There's the open. So we'll turn on replay and we'll start new. We'll go to 1 bar before and let indicator load. There's a lot of stuff that has to load quickly. And let's see what happens. Okay, so here we go. So we're at the open. Let's see if the line's flooded. I don't know if it's going to be too quick. Let's just see what happens. Okay, it normally takes a second to load. I don't know if it's going to load the lines, but let's see. There we go. Can you see now? They're loading from yesterday, and now it's tracking up a straight line. So you can see, there we go. Look at that. Can you see the dots popping up? It's following the candle, Don't know if you can see it on but basically it's the lines following in the candle until we get to 15
you can just see it tracking across the top of the wicks.
So now this is the 15-minute level is established, and down here you can see the opening candle. So the levels have now been established. So let's just actually speed it up and let's watch the explosion pop up. We'll do it very quickly so we don't waste too much time. We go to 3 times and we'll see when it breaks above. Let's just watch it track. You can see price rejecting. We can commentate. Look, liquidity here. Look at that. It put its feet into both. Now that level is sitting on the top of a resistance line. So let's just see. It's getting some more liquidity now. I feel like I'm a horse race commentator.
I'll join you. You can just see, you can see the dotted line there still tracking, and a trend line.
Here we go. It's broken below. So we can see there it broke below. It often does retest. So I don't know where price went. There we go. It broke below again. Now we can see now it's beginning to drop. Closed below nicely, hit TP, almost TP2. And now we're moving up. I mean, it was a bit rangy this morning, so maybe not the best day to look. But whenever it plots, you can see it'll plot a signal when it breaks below. So there were a few pips there. Okay, we're way above. What are we on? Are we on the Dow? Hey? Oh, we're on Bitcoin, no wonder. I thought what's going on here? I didn't recognize it. This was Bitcoin this morning. It would be more exciting watching the Dow. But anyway,
the Dow will be different. One thing to note, guys, I've been watching these levels for quite a long time, and when you're in between them, think of that as obviously like your range, which Dad, you're right there.
Say that slowly. That is absolutely crucial.
So when you think about these 15-minute levels, it's the opening candle that's generating them. If you want to get deeper on it, it's potentially one of the highest points of volume for the day. It's the beginning of the New York session. So all the giant orders a lot of them are being placed at that point. And so you're getting a high and a low established, but then at the same time, in between those levels, think of that as a zone of potentially ranger danger when you're in between that range. Because this is really more about breaking above the top or breaking below the bottom. When you're in between them, it could fly to the top and test the top, or it could just get into that zone to grab more liquidity because that's where those orders were placed, and then continue in that whatever direction. So be mindful when you're stuck in between those two zones and just apply the rules, obviously. But it's just have a look, go and track it. I've been tracking it for quite a while, most of this year. But just a very, very interesting point to add to our arsenal.
Yep. So, I mean, it's huge. It's massive, especially the range. So, I mean, here we can see, look at this example here. Price came down. What stopped this big move down here was it hit, look here, this is the opening, this is the support level of the opening range. It came down, tested it multiple times and went up again. It visits it the whole day. And when it rejects it, that's the other key too. So we can see here, I've just got this extra line. Let me just delete it.
Yeah, what you just said there, like it's coming back and it's retesting it.
Retesting it. Look, this is the one, it tested it like for 5 minutes, and once it rejected it, price fell. So we really want, this is massive, for...
Yeah, there we go. Vickers is even saying that is key in capital letters. Experienced it this morning. Rather stay out of the trade. Yeah, because I know he's up at the open, and it's, there you go.
Yep. So that's why I wanted to mention, Iman, I was thinking about when you trade the open, there's two ways to trade the open. And so if I go back to the open on the 1 minute here, I mean, that's a whole kind of talk in itself, but let's just go back to the open.
And for those who are new, the open being the open of the New York American session, which currently is, I'm not even exactly sure.
2:30 in the morning.
2:30 in the morning. And you normally have a bit of volume an hour before that, I'm pretty sure, but it's, around there.
So, I mean, the open there's often a lot of volatility. So we can see here, the open was over here. And so often there's a lot of volatility. And so I haven't got those levels here now, but I think, let me just quickly draw two levels. So the levels would have been something like, I wasn't prepared to say this. So I'll just give an example. So this should be blue. I'll just quickly make it more realistic. That is blue. So the opening range would be something like this. So often price moves around before it breaks out. So what are we on here? We're on the US 30. So often if you with trend, now in this case, everything this morning, the zone alignment was orange. So I've taken off the high time frame trend zones just to make it the chart clearer to look at. But it was orange, which means risky trading. So the only safe way to do that, if it's trending, everything's lined up, the table's green or red, then you can take the buy signal at the open or the sell signal. But when the market is not trending and zone alignment is all orange and you've got the Christmas tree look, then you wait for a breakout. So you can see it tested, didn't quite break out there. Eventually the good breakout was here. So the safe entry really for trading this morning would have only been at 416, and the signal would have given you 124 pips. So it would have plotted actually on this white candle. So look, we're live now. Look, we've got a sell signal on the 1 hour. So let's just shoot to the 1 hour before I hand back to Ty. And there should be a sell signal as it reloads. Where am I going?
If you have any other questions, team, start thinking about them, and we'll have a bit more Q&A time at the end as well.
So here we can see, so we've got a sell signal now plotted. Can you see 1 hour sell? And here we got, this is the 1 hour chart. So that's how the table works. And we can see here, we are almost breaking below. Look here, we're right on this level, on the 15-minute level here.
And more clarity with that signal, that sell signal is going to disappear in 8 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh, so a shot, Ty. Very good.
So the signal will stay on the chart, but in the table, it's going to disappear when the candle concludes its print time. So that's why anyway, that's when they choose to disappear.
Yeah, and just one little hack. Sometimes, like TradingView is not perfect, and neither is PineScript. So sometimes things plot strangely, or sometimes like things like indicators sometimes disappear. And the reason is because especially if you're loading a lot of charts, drawing a lot of diagrams, the cache gets cluttered, the cache gets cluttered. Now, and you've got to clear that occasionally. So if you get anything missing, disappearing, You got to clear the cache. That is the key. It's something we haven't really spoken about much. So I use the TradingView app, the desktop app, which I love because it gives you the biggest screen. So how to clear it? There you see you got 3 circles in the corner. If you click on that, then you get this menu you probably never looked at. You click on settings, and then you click on services.
Oh, we can't see those settings, Dad. I don't know where they are on your screen.
Isn't it not showing what you can't
No,
see
it's not showing any of that. But okay, so you click those top 3 menu buttons in the corner.
Okay, yeah, I will make a video of it sometime. So
Yeah.
you click these top 3 buttons. That gives you a drop-down menu. Then you click on settings, and then you click on...
we can't see anything.
I know, you click on service.
But that's okay. Settings.
And then there's the option to clear cache.
Okay, cool.
And that restores, if things go funny, a while back, I actually sent a whole indicator to the Pine script, writers who actually oversee TradingView Pine script, which were getting funny plots. And I didn't know about clear cache. That was the problem. And they said there's nothing wrong with the indicator, but then it stopped happening. So I think there was some bug in TradingView, but they're all working on it. So if you do get any strange plots, clear cache. I'm not sure on Mozilla and Firefox and other things, there's a way to do it, but it's easy if you're using the TradingView app. So just remember to clear cache. So I think that is it from me, unless the other questions.
I can see a couple. Can you see them?
Kanashi, yes, that's a good question.
Wait, read the question. No one can read a question later on YouTube. Where was it?
Okay, which one are you going back to? Do you want to read them, Ty?
I don't know where you were right then. I just saw, I'm aware Vickers was saying it's key. And then tips for newbies around the New York Open. There won't be any long trades, quick scalp trades in and out. I guess that, depending on the season. Joe saying paper trading until you work it out. That's always key. Then we got Vaynant, I think there. Sometimes I get the alarm for buy and sell and then disappears within seconds. How long should I wait for the signal to be confirmed? So I guess that's going to depend on like once per bar, once per minute, and it'll go off, if the conditions are met, but if they get unmet, is that basically what's happening there?
Yeah, look, sometimes that is, it happens with every signal. Sometimes the conditions that produce the signal are very clear when the market's trending and it plots and it doesn't unplot. But if the market is slightly sideways, what happens, the sell signal or buy signal or counter trend may flash on and off. But when it flashes, you will get this. If you go back to the alerts here, let's just look at the example of, if you click on buy signal, only once per bar close. If you click that option, then you'll only get the beep, but then you may get it a candle late. So that is the trade-off. All right, so you can wait for that. So if you get a false signal, if it flashes on and off, the alarm's not going to go off if it's once per bar closed. All right, if you click only once, it's going to come on once, it'll beep regardless. And once per bar, that means it's going to beep every time the signal plots. Whether it plots or unplots, it beeps the whole time. So you basically need to choose, I'm normally just once per bar. A lot of the times I just click only once, and then in the settings here, I just then reactivate it because I don't want my phone beeping while I'm working. So I just have it while I'm actually live in the charts. I just go only once, and then I reset it if I still want to trade.
Sounds good. Hopefully that makes sense. I know sometimes those alerts might even potentially fire off before you see the signal print. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but it's just if the conditions are met, it's going to fire that thing. And sometimes even price in the midst of those first few seconds can move backwards. And then you look and there's no signal, but you got an alert. Yeah. You can't see the signals printed. There's no signal printed, but you got an alert, meaning within a few seconds, price just caused those moving averages to cross and then uncross enough to set off an alert, but not keep a buy signal on the charts. I'm paraphrasing. You probably just said all of that, but yeah. Mike, great question. With V4, is trading with Heikin-Ashi recommended type of candles? And for those of our new students, Heikin-Ashi candles, Dad, do you want to give, while you answer that question, a brief
Let's
This is
just
what
go
they
back
are.
on the, let me go back to let's put on the 3-minute here.
Because we didn't include anything on those inside of the system PDF or those videos, but it is inside of the top 10 trading view tools where I talk about it in there and why. So yeah, Dad, over to you with that.
It is, I mean, it is personal preference. You know, the signals sometimes do plot differently. Sometimes they don't plot on one form and on the other. And so it's personal preference. I prefer Heikin-Ashi only because I'm a busy person and I find it very easy to read the chart. For someone who's not familiar with normal, I'm on Heikin-Ashi. So you got a whole lot of candles you can choose here. So under candles, I would have where are all the options hiding here? Oh, here you go. You got all these options for different candles or different ways to plot. You can either have a Heikin-Ashi or just normal candles. So I've made both. I've made that favorites there, and Heikin-Ashi, I've also made it a favorite. So that's where you can choose. So this is the Heikin-Ashi icon, Heikin-Ashi, and this is just the normal candle, just says candles. So you can see Heikin-Ashi is very smoothing and easy to read momentum. So candles stay the same color in trend. If I change to normal candles, you can see the chart will look very different. We'll just let the indicator load the normal candles. You can see it's far more kind of jerky. The candles, you know, it gives a chart a very different look. So I find it easier. They both work really well. I just prefer Heikin-Ashi because it's smoother. Even the MACD histogram is smoother with Heikin-Ashi. So it smooths out the trend. And it's, if you look at these candles here, I mean, I know what the candle is, like a low test bar. You know, there's a lot of more different shapes. If I go back to normal, so have a look at that picture. Then I click back to normal, to Heikin-Ashi candles, and you will see how smooth it gets. You get a way smoother look. So it's just easier to read trend. So one reason why I like, I've kind of said this, why I like Heikin-Ashi candles is because when it comes to the pivots, so I'll just load the pivots quickly, which are now in the MACD. That'll take just a second to load. Pivots are more accurate with Heikin-Ashi candles than with normal candles. So, I mean, I've researched this, and there's a good reason, because with normal candles, these pivots are mathematically correct. But with Heikin-Ashi candles, they are more structurally correct. I mean, it's a funny difference. But they're almost to the millimeter. So if we look here, we can just see, look at this R1 daily. To the millimeter, price is pivoting off that. And if you look here, our price respected this R2 quarterly. And they're very accurate, far more accurate. And I use them a lot when I trade. You can see here exactly how accurate they are. And the reason is because with normal candles, you get far more, they're more wicky. And so when you calculate pivots for more wicky candles, it doesn't place the pivots in exactly the best positions, but Heikin-Ashi smooth, the candles are smoother. So when it calculates all these pivots, they end up being more structurally accurate. It's a crazy thing. I've never heard anyone say that, but I just kind of found that out through trial and error. So, but both are good. I just prefer Heikin-Ashi because it's smoother. You know, the histogram also looks smooth. Everything is smooth, but it's personal preference. You know, some people like to read every candle, but I just like how well it looks. Also, the candle coloring looks better. If you look here, we can see the trend increasing nicely. And because Heikin-Ashi candles tend to look bigger, it's easier to read. Look at that trend from that lightning bolt break. If we went to normal candles, you'll see it's not as easy to read. So if you look at that same move, so you can see, okay, there's bright, and there you got kind of pullbacks and things. It's not always easy to see the difference with the bright and dark candles. So anyway, it's personal preference. You know, I've only used Heikin-Ashi. I started with normal candles, but I found Heikin-Ashi just very easy. You know,
Look,
you can often
just to mess you all up, guys, I use both. And so I will always be watching the Heikin-Ashi ones because I've seen enough to know that they work well with the indicator. I believe they especially if you're brand new, it's going to remove a lot of noise. But I will say this as well, is that I will very, very, very often, almost always, be looking at normal candles on my 1 minute chart because I just see a lot from candles too, from watching those for years. So I've struggled to completely let go of normal candles. But if you're brand new, Yeah. You can go down the rabbit hole of learning the math that these things require to print. It is quite a crazy calculation. But once you've just got some time on the charts, I think it was Mike, you put something really good in the chat the other day, man. It was about time on the charts. No God-given strategy or indicator is going to beat you having time on the charts. You have to have time to see how price moves in different times of the day and different instruments and everything. And it's just building time on the charts, like whatever, it's just putting in the hours. So, but with that, another thing Mike set up there, which is good, is if you are, like for instance, right now, he said if you change from Heiken Ashi on the Dow to candles, to normal ones, the H1 sell signal disappears. So it's basically good for all of you guys to know as well that they do affect the TP levels differently, because the buy signals, the pivots will be different. The buy signals, the sell signals, they will print slightly differently in their positioning, maybe even a candle different in terms of the minute that they print, but they will also affect the levels of the stop loss and the targets. So yeah, just good to know. And you will see, I think, Dad, your coloring settings are making them look a little bit extra different at the moment. But the main thing that you will know, when you turn off the indicator and you mess between the two candles, you will see, especially in the top 10 tools video I made, there was like a trend, and I can't remember if it was red or green. I think it was red. But there was like a string of 15 candles in a trend with like one opposing trend candle, and when you flick to normal candles, there was like 5. And so it just gets rid of that noise that can cause you to panic a little bit if you're new and go, oh, is this thing reversing? But Heiken Ashi just smoothens that out. So hope that helps.
I also don't trade Heiken Ashi. My candle colors are set to, they're not what I normally use. So
yeah, there you go. So
anyway, you can change your colors like that.
Vayner was just saying thank you. That was, he'll clear his cache based on that earlier question. Jono McIntyre, what is the lightning bolt? Real quick answer. That's an easy one. It's in all the things in the PDF and the video.
The lightning bolt
is support or resistance zone.
When price breaks a previous support or resistance zone. So I don't know. We haven't got a live example. Let me go back to normal candles here.
There is a live example of it happening in the video that dropped last night as well. So you can just click straight to that timestamp and see it. There's one there to the left, but you can't see the previous zone it broke.
Yeah, so this, you can see this zone. There would have been, let's have a look here. This would have plotted. Yeah, so if there would have been a zone, a support zone over there, just like that. So this, I'll just blow it up so it makes sense. So the indicator would have created a support zone based on that wick. And so it's when price breaks a zone and closes below, it produces that lightning bolt. And then that would then change to red. The color, once it's green for support, red for resistance, but once it breaks through, closes below, then afterwards that would have looked something like that.
There we go.
And so here's a massive wick. So look at that. So there's this means a lot of buyers hanging around waiting to push price up. But if price did break below, it's got to close below. Sometimes it'll move and this block will flick between green and red. But when it closes below, this will change to red and then a lightning bolt will plot.
Tim's calling the 3-minute right now on the Dow, which if it's a sell, it might have already printed. Dow 3M right now, it's probably getting into that zone you just highlighted, if there is one. No, maybe it disappeared. Maybe that was a while ago. Maybe it unprinted.
Here's the zone.
Okay, lightning bolt 3-minute right now. Okay, there it is. Thank you. There we go. It's like I didn't see the sell signal, but so it's breaking below, but there's obviously that other zone that we just saw as well from that other wick. Yeah, well.
Yeah, so I think that is it.
If there ain't any more questions, guys, we're after 9. That was a solid hour, and I'm just stoked that you guys all got this puppy now in your charts. So, Dad, I don't know if you want to unshare, and then I'll pin myself, we can both be there. But there we have it, guys. Dad, thank you. That was really well explained, all those bits and bobs that we didn't catch. We didn't dive into deeper at the event, or they're in the video, but it further clarifies those main points. So guys, if you need to rewatch tonight, it'll be on YouTube in a couple of hours. Just the main elements of the difference between bright and dark signals, and what else in a nutshell, Dad, did you cover that was key? Alerts, all the different ways to set them, adjust them.
How the different signals are formed. Looking for like those golden setups where the 3 trend zones are trending in both the main indicator and the MACD. I looked at, and also that M15, breaking that range is massive.
Yeah.
And also letting people know that the candles will only plot in the signal column for as long as the time frame it's on. So 1 minute candles will only show for 1 minute. We looked at alerts. The POC is a bit more sensitive, so you may see it move now and then, but it makes the indicator faster. And clear your cache. If you get any strange plots, learn whatever, what's it called? Mozilla, Firefox, whatever thing you're using, learn how to clear the cache. Save your drawings first, because you may lose current drawings, and clear cache. And that also, if it's lagging, clear the cache too, and that will speed it up.
Great advice. Often get those questions. Things are lagging, things are stuck, things aren't where they should be. It's usually one of those. So
Hey, Vika,
I love this.
well
Vika
done.
says, I
Vika.
love this puppy. Scalp 300 USD while on the Zoom. There we go, bro. Flipping
Gee.
smashing it. Take your students taking notes and taking dollars at the same time. All right, guys. Well, that's us for tonight. We're live 5:30 a.m. on Friday morning. We'll drop that Zoom reminder on Thursday night in the chat and the Zoom link in the morning at 5:30. So if you want to be on there, be up early. Otherwise, enjoy this thing. Get used to it. Give yourself some time to learn all the nuances. If you've got questions, put them in the chat. I guarantee we probably answered almost all of them in that video, so rewatch the video. But otherwise, enjoy the week. Massive welcome again to all of our new students. So good to have you with us. And just also to you, there's no silly questions. We all knew at some point, so don't ever feel odd firing a question that feels silly. There's no silly questions. So otherwise, guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you in the chat. Trade safe.
Cool.
Good night, everyone.